Hello and a very warm welcome to Europe's spaceport here in Kourou, French Guiana, where tonight we're going to witness the launch of Ariane flight 151, carrying her Spot 5 payload for Spot Image. This is Ariane's 6th launch this year and a very special one indeed. Tonight's French commentators are Isabelle Malivoire and Gaston Rabot. I'm Zoe Eisenstein, and along with my technical expert, Suni Abrahamson, we'll be taking you through tonight's launch. And remember that you can also share these exciting moments with us live on the internet. And here's your chance to find out what we've got coming up for you tonight.
We'll see the launch vehicle mission, the launch vehicle integration, and of course, the team behind it. We'll take you behind the scenes to find out about the satellite, its preparation and integration with the launch vehicle. We'll also have an interview with Michel Arnaud, who is a director of Earth observations at CNES, Toulouse.
And of course, there's also our live coverage of events taking place at the launch pad and the Mission Control Center right here in Jupiter. So sit back, keep your eyes on the screen, and get ready for liftoff. Well, as promised, we're back live in the Jupiter control room here in Kourou. It's coming up to 10:15 in the evening local time, and all stations are go for the launch of the Spot 5 satellite in just under 20 minutes. We're around 15 kilometers from the actual launch pad, but here in Jupiter some very important decisions are taken, aren't they, Sonny? Will you take us through the main actors on flight 151?
Yeah, there are three main actors here tonight. It's Philippe Roland, the mission director of Arianespace, and he's in relation with the satellite. We have Philippe Maubert, who is the range operation manager from CNES, and we also hear from an important guy, Daniel Groot, the launch operation manager.
The launch campaign for Flight 151 started on the 8th of April with the erection of the first stage, followed by the integration of second stage. After that, we went through a test verification period, which allowed us to erect the third stage on the 6th day of the campaign. At this point, we are on the critical path where any delayed activity might impact the launch date. We didn't have any major problem, and so we were able to transfer the launch vehicle to the launch pad on the 22nd of April, an extremely busy day that went as planned. The activities on the launch pad are much simpler. They include the purging of the third cryogenic stage with helium. Flight 151's campaign has been very smooth, and we are now ready to enter the final phase. We've had no major difficulties, and of course we hope that tonight's launch is going to be much of a success as all of Ariane's previous flights.
Well, of course, Sonny, as you well know, the star tonight is the launch vehicle and, of course, the Spot 5 satellite, which is on board. Philippe Roland, the mission director, is now going to fill us in on the satellite campaign. Let's watch this short film.
Welcome to the roof of Launch Control Center number 1. Spot 1 was launched from this pad 16 years ago. Today on Flight 151, we're ready to launch Spot 5, the latest satellite in the Spot family on one of the last Ariane 4 launch vehicles. Spot 5 arrived in Kourou on one of the new large transport aircrafts, Beluga. The campaign unfolded like clockwork. Compared to what we expected, we have had only 1 or 2 hours of unplanned events. 16 years ago, the launch vehicle campaign lasted 2 months. This time round, it took less than 4 weeks. The satellite was hoisted on top of the launch vehicle on day -4 and is now ready for liftoff. We are now putting our destiny in the hand of the god of the wind and weather, which we hope will allow us to launch tonight.
Well, as you can see there, the launch vehicle is still ready and waiting to head off into orbit in just a few minutes. And back here in Jupiter Control, we're going to find out about some other very important people for tonight's flight. And Sunny, if you could take us through those people we're going to see coming up in just a few moments.
And that is the Flight Directorate, a group of senior Arianespace and CNES managers, headed tonight by the Arianespace CEO, Jean-Marie Luton.
And there he is in the picture.
And they are there to be able to take decisions if something unwanted happens.
So it's obviously extremely important that they're there to take those all-important decisions if they need to be taken. In the meantime, now let's take a look at a few vital statistics of the launcher and the mission.
Arianespace will use an Ariane 42P for this 151st mission. It's the 15th flight of this next to smallest version of Ariane 4 with 2 solid boosters. It will develop a thrust of 4,000 kilonewtons to lift the 365 tons of launch vehicle plus payload into orbit.
The Spot 5 is new, more capable, and a much improved addition to the Spot family. It has a launch mass of 3,030 kilograms, was built by Astrium for the French space agency CNES, and it will be operated by Spot Image.
The Ariane 4 will put Spot 5 in a sun-synchronous polar orbit of 813 kilometers altitude, and it will go around the Earth 14 times in 24 hours.
There are 3 discrete launch opportunities for Flight 151, between 1 hour, 31 minutes and 46 seconds and 1 hour, 49 minutes and 46 seconds universal time. Well, as you can see on your screens, all the status panels there on the left are green, which means there are no technical problems at the moment. Sonny, will you take us through those panels we can see displayed there?
They describe the important functions being here tonight. And that is the launch base, it is a launch vehicle and the pad, the satellite Spot 5, and of course the thing we cannot control is weather, but it's good so far.
So those are just keeping us on track on what the situation is like and if we're still green for go.
It's still green for go.
That's excellent news. Well, of course, the launch window, as we said earlier, Sunny, is rather unique for tonight's launch. Let's find out why now from the payload manager, Christophe Bardin.
The definition of tonight's launch window depends on 3 main parameters. The performance of the launch vehicle, the capacity to follow the launch vehicle from the satellite from the ground stations, and of course, safety. The trajectory of a satellite like Spot is specific in that you have to position the orbital plane in relation to the Sun. The launcher has to perform a maneuver in order to catch the orbital plane, which relates to the time of the launch. And it's the capacity of the launch vehicle to do this that limits the launch window. Another factor is that the ground track of the launch vehicle changes with time. The later the launch, the further west it will move. It's necessary to track the launch vehicle and the satellite from the ground station during the whole propulsion phase. All this gives us a theoretical continuous launch window of around 20 minutes. At this point, a third factor comes into play: safety. In the later stages of the flight, the launch vehicle impact point will fly over Asia, and we have to avoid densely populated areas. That's why, tonight, we've decided on 3 discrete launch opportunities, spaced 12 and 6 minutes apart.
Well, that first discrete launch opportunity coming up in under 10 minutes now, and there's the launch vehicle again ready and waiting to take off very soon. Now, back in Jupiter Control, there's some other key players that Sunny is going to take us through. Sunny?
Yeah, we have here, of course, the people working with the satellite as well, and the satellite mission director for tonight is Bernard Lamaison from
He looks
CNES.
very hard at work.
Yes, intensely awaiting what's happening.
Right, and he's working with the rest of the team, just getting things on track. In the meantime, let's find out a little bit more about how the spot system works in this short film.
The Spot Earth Observation System entered service in 1986. Developed jointly by France, Belgium and Sweden, Spot acquires imagery of the Earth. The system comprises a series of satellites and ground facilities for controlling operations, tasking the satellites, and producing and distributing satellite imagery. Spot is the leading Earth observation system of its generation. Over the years, it has built up a unique archive of over 6 million images of the planet. Spot 5, developed by CNES, is the latest addition to the Spot constellation, offering significantly enhanced image quality. Built by prime contractor Astrium, Spot 5 is carrying a suite of high-performance instruments. 2 new HRG imaging instruments, derived from Spot 4, offer higher resolution at 2.5 meters to 5 meters in black and white and 10 meters in color. 2.5 meter imagery is generated using a new sampling concept dubbed Supermode. Spot 5 also features a totally new HRS imaging instrument. HRS is able to acquire stereo pair images almost simultaneously to map relief in 3 dimensions. The vegetation instrument and image telemetry subassembly were built by Alcatel Space. Vegetation is continuing the mission it began with the first instrument on Spot 4. Thanks to its wide field of view, vegetation covers almost all the globe's land surfaces every day. With Spot 5, CNES is thus helping Europe to maintain a key role in Earth observation.
So we can see why Spot 5 is a really exciting satellite to be sending up there tonight. Well, all parameters are still green, and we've heard from our final weather check that the weather is fine, so we can go for launch. And in a moment, at T-6, we'll enter the final countdown, or what's called the synchronized sequence. Now, that's a very critical stage of the launch, and Sunny, if you could take us through that, that'd be great.
Yes, there are the 2 computers have been used for,
DDO, attention pour le début de la séquence synchronisée.
and we'll have the synchronized sequence, as I said. The 2 computers that
Top,
were used
H0
for
6 minutes.
controlling the satellites earlier are now taking over and counting down. And there are some important moments in some seconds. We are closing off the third state tanks. We're going to go on onboard power a bit further down and then start the real last phase before flight, like starting servo motors and releasing cryogenic arms, etc.
And then obviously the final 10-second countdown that we've all heard of. But while we've been here preparing for the launch over the last few days, the launch team have been very hard at work with the final preparations, obviously on the launcher. Tell me, what have they been up to this week, Sunny?
It's been a busy week with a dress rehearsal for the base. There has been a flight readiness review where all the various activities of the launch vehicle has been verified, including the satellite, of course.
And everything's fine, which is great news. So now we're actually into the final few minutes before liftoff. But earlier today, we actually saw the withdrawal of the gantry from the launcher, which we'll see just now.
Yes, following the fueling of the first and second stages yesterday, this morning we're busy in preparing the gantry, the almost 4,000-ton heavy protective gantry around the launch vehicle to pull it away to be able to fuel.
That's incredible, very heavy material there.
It is, and this was the first time the launcher was outside in air since it was rolled over to the launch pad 2 weeks ago.
Well, it looks in very healthy condition. And since then, those few hours ago, there's been absolutely no human contact with the launcher.
That's correct. Now everything is working via the computers. The fueling has been going on since a couple of hours and has just been finished.
And it's all running very smoothly.
Correct.
Right, and as we can see there, the status panels are still green for go, and the synchronized sequence can continue. And only a few minutes now to go until the moment of truth. So we saw that gantry removal, obviously an extremely important part of the launch. And what at this point does the satellite do at this very critical stage?
Yeah, the satellite's been on top of the launch vehicle for a week basically, and it was all prepared about 15 minutes ago when it went on to internal power, and the satellite team is now verifying that it's still in good order for launch.
Okay, well that's great. But Sunny, I've been hearing quite a lot over the last few days about something called cryogenic or cryotechnic arms, and I'm not entirely sure what they are. I think we're going to see some computer images just now. If you could just fill me in on what we can see.
Yeah, these are the arms that fuel the third stage, and these arms are going to be released 5 seconds before launch, and then we really know that we are going. It's liquid hydrogen on the left and liquid oxygen on the right, and this is a picture we'll see also just before launch.
Okay, well with just over 2 minutes to go now, this must be an extremely critical time. Sonny, what are the final events taking place now before liftoff?
Apart from the fueling has stopped, we are in just above 1 minute. We are going to get onto internal power. We are then continuing with the release of the servo motor, release of this inertia platform, start of servo motors. We'll see the arms release. We have ignition. 4 seconds of burn to verify that all engines are functioning well. Release of the clamps.
Well, that's what I always find extremely impressive, because it's not actually at zero that the launcher shoots off. It's 4 seconds later. In the meantime, you've still got clamps holding that launcher down and just keeping it from roaring off into the night sky.
That is correct. And also we're actually losing a couple of tons of propellant doing this. But you have to do that to be really sure that the engines are working.
Right, and obviously later on during the launch, the amount of fuel that gets lost is enormous compared to that. That's just a spot, isn't it?
Oh yes, that's very little. And the total amount of fuel is comparable to 1.5 times what a 747 uses from Paris to here in 8 hours.
Attention pour moins 1 minute.
And we're at 1 minute. And
Top, H0 moins 1 minute.
And the launch vehicle is now on internal power.
Well, there we have it. We're into the last minute now. Welcome to any latecomers around the world, including those of you watching at the French Embassy in Washington, D.C., any Swedes or Belgians who've joined us, of course, those of you who are at home surfing the net tonight over on the Arianespace homepage, and anyone else who's sharing this very exciting event with us. Our best wishes, of course, go to Spot 5. Have a good trip on Arianespace Flight 151. Make sure you just keep your eyes now on the screen, and we'll keep quiet now for the final countdown and liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage. Décollage. Les paramètres au décollage sont normaux. Les paramètres bord sont normaux.
Well, what an incredible sight, seeing that launch vehicle just shoot straight off into the night sky. It's now actually hidden behind clouds, but I'm going to come back in, Sonny, and and there it goes again. In the meantime, Sonny, it's over to you.
And here in Jupiter, on the screens, we can see the 4 engines of the main stage burning full. We have just had the burnout of the solid boosters at 36 seconds. And we are climbing up the trajectory curve. We've already, after these few 1 minute, reached 7 kilometers altitude and about 0.2 kilometer. Oh, hello, Zoe. Was it nice?
Hello, well, Cindy, that was an incredible sight, I must say. It's amazing. Oh, and we can feel a tremendous rumble here in the Jupiter control room. That's, of course, from the sound of the launcher. So, wow, and it's still going. But what an incredible experience, really seeing that launch vehicle just go. And I've just heard that all the parameters on board are normal. So we just had an announcement. What's happening, Sonny?
Yeah, as I said before, we've had the burnout of the solid boosters, but they've just been released, separated from the launch vehicle.
Well, tell me, why was there such a delay between the burnout and the separation?
Because we need to keep them on for a minute approximately to let them fall down outside the range area, so they won't damage any installations.
Tell me, where exactly do they fall?
Oh, they fall just at the range on land in the forest just north of us.
We can still hear that noise, really. Just that is the launch vehicle just going straight off, jetting off into the night over us.
It's going in the other direction. It's going straight north from here. So.
All right, so which big horizon are we waiting for now, Sonny?
And now the next thing is happening will be the separation of the first and second stages. We have about 1 minute to go.
Okay, and until then it just keeps on going north on its trajectory. But can you take us through? On the left we can see some numbers. Could you just take us through those?
Yes, you see the trajectory plot, and the launch vehicle is following the calculated trace. It's the onboard inertia platform that's giving us the data, and we've already now, after 3 minutes, we're at 60 kilometers altitude and 1.6 kilometer per second.
Okay, and those figures, we'll see them throughout the journey of the launch vehicle and the separation of the satellites.
Yes, and we're going up to 800 kilometers.
Okay, we just heard another announcement. What's actually happening, Sonny?
We have now separated the first stage from the second one.
Right, we just can see some computer simulated images. Could you take us through those? What exactly does this mean?
It means that what's called the skirt that's holding the two stages together are cut, and the first stage is pushed back by rockets, and the second stage has started, and this happens in a few milliseconds only.
So now the first stage is empty. How much fuel has it used up so far?
The first stage has used up 230 tons of fuel so far.
That's an incredible amount, and in just 4 minutes now, and it's used up that much fuel. That's really incredible. Obviously, the launch vehicle is extremely heavy and it needs lots of thrust, doesn't it?
Yes, but as I said, the mass has gone down very much, and we just heard that we have separated the fairing.
Okay, and we can see some computer simulated images. Now, the fairing is protecting the launch vehicle from overheating due to the friction of the atmosphere. Why do we get rid of it now, Sonny?
We're so high up that the air friction is low. We don't need the fairing any longer, so we get rid of it because we don't want to carry dead weight up into orbit.
I see. It seems that this issue of mass is really quite important, Sonny.
It is a very important matter.
I suppose the ideal would be a launch vehicle made up only of fuel.
Of course. It's not possible as today, so if you have any good ideas, please tell me.
I'll fill you in just after the program. And how is the fairing separated from the launch vehicle? Is it in the same way as the stages are separated?
Yes, similar principle. It's still explosive being used, although the lower part of the fairing is kept by a steel band.
Okay, so is it pushed away by springs or something like that?
No, just the explosive cord opens up the fairing, and that is enough.
Okay, so now let's go back to the speed of the launcher. Tell us about that, Sonny. What's happening now? The speed seems to be going up.
Yes, and we're closing in on the end of the burn of the second stage, the separation of the second stage.
Okay.
And we have ignition of the third stage. So now we are in the final, a bit longer burn than we had before.
Paramètres et
So what does
trajectoires
this
sont
really
normaux.
mean, Sunny?
That is that we've gotten rid of about 90% of the launch vehicle, and we have now the third stage left with the satellite.
Okay, well, while the Spot 5 continues on its journey, let me just take this time to say that we spoke to an old colleague of yours, Sunny, that's Michel Arnaud, who we're going to hear from a little later on. Now, he's one of the directors at CNES who's responsible for Earth observation. Now, he was telling me that with the pictures Spot takes from orbit, I could even get hold of a photo of my birthplace to put up on my wall. Now, I know that's not the main point of Spot 5, but what do you think of that, Sunny?
No, Spot is taking a lot of images, and there is from the system already several million pictures available, which are used for scientific purposes, for agricultural purposes, and so on. But of course, they could be used, and particularly with Spot 5, where you have a 2.5 meter resolution, you would be able to see objects like houses.
Because Spot is really quite a green satellite, if one can say that about satellites.
Of course, it has a vegetation sensing equipment where you can see how the Earth vegetation changes over the year and see if something untoward has happened.
And it can also help in terms of natural disasters, mapping out what's actually happened.
Exactly, and we'll see a lot more of that towards the end of this when we have a film actually on what the Spot system can do.
Right.
Les paramètres à bord
Obviously
sont
also
normaux
very
et stables.
important in terms of military and defense tactics for...
Yes, particularly the stereo viewing equipment on the Spot 5, which is new equipment. It gives you profile data of Earth, which is good for various kinds of application, including then military applications.
Right, well, as Spot 5 continues to fly northbound to its final destination, Christophe Bardou, who's the payload manager, is now going to tell us more about what it takes for it to head north.
As with other Earth observation satellites, the orbital plane is inclined at about 100 degrees in relation to the equator, which allows a continuous scanning of the Earth's surface, which will eventually cover the entire globe. The so-called heading north trajectory is totally different to those used by communication satellites, which are launched eastward. The tracking network is also entirely different to the usual one, in that there are fewer stations. Because the launch trajectory is almost vertical, it's easier for the station to track. The Kourou stations ensure the tracking during the flight's first 15 minutes. After that, the Canadian Space Agency station in Saint-Hubert near Montreal takes over and follows the injection into orbit phase, the separation of Spot 5, and finally the passivation of the launcher.
Right, well, the Spot 5 is continuing to go on its track, but tell me, where exactly is the launch vehicle right now?
Oh, we reached a height of almost 600 kilometers out of the 800, and we have a speed of 4.2 kilometers per second, which is
just extremely, extremely fast. I wish my car went as quickly as that.
Yeah, could have a big engine for that. And so we're a speed that is more than half of what the final speed we're expecting.
Right, well, you were just mentioning a few examples of what Spot 5 is going to enable us to see from up there in orbit. And let's find out a bit more about the Spot 5 mission in this short film, which will be coming up. It will give us really a clear insight into where exactly this satellite is going, how it's going to get there, and what it's going to do once it does get there.
When the satellite is within range of the Wallops Island station near Washington, D.C., the gyros are switched on. The instrument's mirrors are tilted, and the primary deployment of the solar array begins. When Spot 5 comes within view of the stations at Prince Albert in Canada and Poker Flat in Alaska, it fires its hydrazine microthrusters to initiate the attitude acquisition phase. Ground controllers then monitor the satellite as it rotates into position to point towards Earth. Lastly, the attitude acquisition sequence is stopped to allow the solar array to deploy fully as Spot 5 passes over the stations at Katsuhara and Okinawa in Japan. The solar array's drive mechanism is then commanded to rotate the panels towards the sun to power the satellite and charge its batteries. Within sight of Kerguelen station, ground controllers check that the solar array drive mechanism is tracking the sun correctly. About 50 minutes after launch, the critical Spot 5 positioning phase is over.
So, Sonny, as we saw in that film, Spot is being tracked by ground stations. Now, is the tracking of the satellite done in the same way as for the launch vehicle?
No, there's a bit of difference. For the launch vehicle, we are tracking that all the time of the launch vehicle flight because we need telemetry data to be able to evaluate the flight afterwards. Spot, on the other hand, has a very long orbit, and it's not possible to have ground stations all the way under the trace. So that's why you have doing the maneuvers in view of important maneuvers in view of some ground stations, and others it's flying without contact.
Right, well, it's now on its way to sun-synchronous orbit, and it's going to join its Spot siblings in the same orbital plane. Now, how are these satellites actually going to work together, Sonny?
Oh, there will be 4 of them. There are 3 already in orbit, and Spot 5 will be the 4th one coming, and they are going to be in various positions in the orbit, in the same orbital plane, but then spaced with between 97 degrees between 2 satellites, 111 to Spot 5, and then the 4th satellite in between. And that will give basically a daily coverage of each part of the world with all these 4 satellites.
Okay, so together they'll be able to give us a global image of what's happening on the Earth.
That's correct.
Okay, well, I believe that the launch vehicle is soon going to be... And here we go. The launch vehicle has been acquired by Saint-Hubert in Canada, but it's still being tracked by Kourou. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, there is actually around 3 minutes overlap when the 2 tracking stations are following the launch vehicle, because you will have a low angle of each antenna. They see the launch vehicle close to the horizon, so we need to have an overlap to be able to follow the launch vehicle all the way.
Okay, well, now let's find out a little bit more about what Spot can actually do.
Observation satellites offer a global and frequently updated view of the Earth. Today, the Spot series of satellites is a vital aid for scientists, farmers, industry, and the military alike.
Il reste 4 minutes de propulsion du 3e étage.
In agriculture and forestry, Spot 5 provides objective information for compiling statistics and forecasting yields. Thanks to its higher resolution, Spot 5 is a precious tool for precision agriculture, revealing surface features that previously went undetected. Spot 5 imagery is well suited for mapping at scales up to 1/10,000th and ideal for land planning and management applications, particularly in urban and peri-urban areas. Digital elevation models derived from images acquired by Spot 5's HRS instrument are a valuable asset for armed forces and cellular telephone network planning. Spot 5 and its sister satellites will also continue to support Europe's global monitoring and environment security initiative. With this new satellite, Spot Image and its data distribution partners are set to offer products and features unparalleled in today's Earth observation market, thanks to the combined advantages of a 120-kilometer swath and 2.5-meter resolution, fast data turnaround and unequaled revisit rates, and large-scale digital elevation models. Spot 5 thus brings us a more detailed picture of the planet so that we may better manage its resources.
Now, of course, as well as SpotImage, CNES are also involved in this launch, as well as Alcatel and Astrium, who actually built all of Spot's 5 satellites. And as I mentioned earlier, Sunny and I met one of the CNES directors who's involved in Earth observation, and tonight he's actually here with us in Jupiter. But we're now going to watch a short interview with the man himself, and that is Michel Arnaud.
The launch and commissioning of Spot 5 are going to be extremely important events for CNES, the French National Space Agency. First of all, to maintain continuity in the operational service. 4 spacecraft were launched since 1986, the last one, Spot 4, in 1998, and then the improvement of the performance of instruments. This improvement can be seen in an important gain on the resolution of the instruments over previous spacecraft. We had a resolution of 10 meters in black and white and 20 in colors. With Spot 5, we have a resolution of 2.5 meters in black and white and 10 meters in color. The instruments are going to be dedicated to the production of digital terrain models called HRS, high-resolution stereoscope, which will provide an innovative service. We should also file a star sensor, which will enhance the positioning of images and for mass production.
Well, now coming up is the burnout of the 3rd stage. Sonny, will you talk us through what happens here?
Yes, I'll do that. And I can see that Michel Arnaud is in picture, looking intently at the curve as well. We have actually now only a bit more than 1 minute to burn of the 3rd stage. We've basically reached the altitude of 810 kilometers. There's a few kilometers more to go, and the 3rd stage is giving the last drops of fuel for the final acceleration, and we're already at 7.5 kilometers per second. We're very close to the end of the 3rd stage flight.
How fast will it go at its fastest?
This is what we have achieved right now. This is the fastest speed, and the 3rd stage has stopped its burn.
Okay, which means what happens now?
There will be final correction of the orbit. And we have separation of Spot 5.
Oh, there we have it.
Yes, already.
Oh, and another huge success there for Arianespace and, of course, SpotImage. Well, as you can see, scenes of satisfaction here at the Jupiter control room. And people clapping. There's the VIPs. Well, the satellite's now in the hands of the operators at CNES in Toulouse in southern France. And what can we say, Sonny? I suppose the baby's all yours, guys.
Yeah,
and,
best of luck for the next exciting hours.
Okay, and now we're just going to see a replay, those magnificent scenes of liftoff just around 20 minutes ago. Let's just keep quiet and watch these pictures.
Okay, and there are scenes of happiness in shaking hands here after the
Décollage. Les paramètres au décollage sont normaux. Les paramètres bord sont normaux.
Well, that was really incredible. I had the chance to see it live for myself out there on the balcony. And in a few moments, we're going to hear some speeches from the top team. But in the meantime, Sunny, tell me, you were actually here in Kourou for the launch of Spot 2 in 1990, weren't you? And that was, what was that like? Oh.
Décollage. Les paramètres au décollage sont normaux. Les paramètres bord sont normaux.
And that was a replay from another camera.
Right, so as I was saying, Sunny, you were here in 1990 for the launch of Spot 2. How does this compare?
It's the same excitement. Even this is a bit better, heavier satellite than a heavier launch vehicle as well. But also, as you know, on this flight, as on any Spot flight of the last 4, there has been a secondary passenger.
Okay, well now we're just going to hear from the CEO of Arianespace. Here's Jean-Marie Luton.
Chers amis, je suis très heureux de pouvoir partager.
It's a great pleasure for me to have this opportunity to share the success of this launch with you. This is a further success for Europe in space. And this evening, this is particularly a success for France, Belgium, and Sweden, which came together on this SPOT program since 1998. So let me first of all congratulate all of the CNES teams, and in particular Alain Bensoussan, with whom I have had the privilege of sharing this emotional launch. I would also like to greet all of those who have followed this event all over the world, in Washington and Tokyo, and especially in Toulouse. I know that there are many of you, industrialists, users, and scientists, who are there with Gérard Brachet. This is a wonderful moment for CNES, and we at Arianespace are very happy to have contributed to the launch of this fifth descendant of the SPOT family.
Je salue M. Bouvard.
From Astrium, I welcome Mr. Bouvard, to
Permettez-moi de saluer M. Courtois.
And I greet Mr.
C'est aussi
Courtois.
toute l'industrie spatiale.
And with them,
Avec
the
EDF,
space
SNECMA
industry
et
as a whole, with the ADS, SNECMA, and many others,
qui est rassemblé dans ce projet,
which
est à
has
l'honneur ce soir.
come together and can take the honors
succès
in this project.
Pour le CNES, n'est qu'un juste retour des
This
choses,
success is well deserved by
que
CNES.
tu présides a été
The
important
national
dans le
agency
développement
that
des
you
programmes de
chair
lanceurs en
has
Europe,
played a very major
premier
role
actionnaire
in the launcher
d'Arianespace,
program in Europe.
maître d'œuvre
You're the largest
du programme
shareholder in
de
Arianespace, the prime contractor for
Ariane
the
A5,
Ariane
dans le cadre
125
du
development
programme de l'Agence
programs
spatiale
within
européenne.
the European
Le
Space
CNES
Agency programs, and
joue aussi un
CNES
rôle central
also
dans le
plays
fonctionnement du port
a major
spatial de
role in
l'Europe.
operating the
Ici, en Guyane,
Space Center here in
nos
Guyana,
équipes
Europe's Space Center.
travaillent
Report.
ensemble tous les jours.
Here in
les
Guyana,
bâtiments
our
de
teams have been
préparation
working
des
day
charges
by
utiles,
day
sur les
in
ensembles de
the payload
lancement,
preparation
et je tiens
buildings
ce soir à saluer
and on
cette
the launch
coopération.
range. And I would
Avec
like
pas moins de 6
to
lancements
commend
réalisés en moins
this
de 100
cooperation
jours,
here this evening.
Nous avons depuis le début
With
de
no
l'année
fewer than 6
démontré
launches
notre
in less than
capacité
100 days, we have now
adapter le
demonstrated
rythme
since the
de
beginning of
lancement
this year
à la
our
disponibilité des
ability
satellites.
to adapt our launch
Cette
rate
souplesse
to the availability
opérationnelle,
of satellites.
fruit d'une
This
longue expérience,
operational
constitue un
flexibility
élément
reflects
essentiel
our very
de
long-standing
notre
experience in
compétitivité,
this area, and it's a
appréciée et
major
reconnue
part
par
of
nos
our
clients.
competitiveness, which is well
Le
appreciated
lancement de
and
ce soir
recognized by
est
our
aussi
customers.
le
This
70e
evening's
succès
launch is
consécutif
also
d'Ariane
the
4.
70th
Spot 5
consecutive success
en
of
est le
Ariane 4.
200e satellite
And
mis en
Spot
orbite par
5 is the
Ariane.
200th
Évidemment, comme à
satellite
chaque
entrusted
fois,
to Ariane.
Ce sont de nouveaux records.
Obviously, as
Ils démontrent toujours
each
davantage
time,
la
these are
qualité
new
des techniques
records.
des produits Ariane,
They show the
la
technical
solidité
quality
des
of the
fondations
Ariane
d'Ariane,
products
c'est-à-dire
and
l'Agence spatiale européenne que tu présides,
the
et l'industrie spatiale de
solidity
l'Europe.
of the space agency
L'avenir
and the space
immédiat
industry.
d'Arianespace,
The immediate
le
future
lancement
for
d'Intelsat
Arianespace
905
will comprise the
dans
launch of
exactement
Intelsat
un mois.
905 in just exactly a month's
en
time.
renouvelant toutes mes félicitations.
Once again,
il me reste à souhaiter
congratulations
longue vie à
to you
Spot
all,
5.
and I wish Spot
Pourquoi
5
pas
a very
une
long
vie aussi
life.
longue que Spot 1,
Why not? A life as long as
et
that
que
of
nous
Spot
avons
1.
lancé
which we launched 16 years ago. Thank you.
Alors normalement, après que le président d'Arianespace se soit exprimé dans ce genre de
It's normal
circonstances,
for the chairman of Arianespace to have spoken first. Now it's up to the customer to say a few words of thanks. I would like to express my thanks on behalf of the customer, congratulate Arianespace for the success. The success of Ariane 4, this remarkable launch vehicle, 70 consecutive successful launches. And Ariane 4 is finishing its career next year. We have still a few more launches of Ariane 4, but Ariane 4 was a successful launch vehicle. I'd also like to thank the Guyana Space Center and congratulate the teams, the European Spaceport, thank the staff working here to have deployed such professionalism and proven that this is the very best launch site in the world. Nonetheless, today, I have difficulty in only playing the role of the customer, as it is true that for the success of the Guyana Space Center, which is the success of CNES as it belongs to CNES, we are at the origin in CNES of the design of Ariane, and as you recalled, CNES is also the main shareholder of Arianespace. So it's in a way, I'm representing a whole family of successful members that have contributed towards this wonderful launch tonight. But it's really as customer that I would like to express the very great thanks to all those who contributed towards the success of the European space community. Now, perhaps I should add a few words about Spot 5. This remarkable spacecraft, which is unique in the world, as it will contribute with enhanced possibility towards Earth observation. I would like to pay tribute to the work that has been done to make the success of the Spot family. Some of them are here with us tonight. I'd also like to address those present in Toulouse and express to them my admiration. And we will certainly follow very closely with Spot 5 everything that this attentive work represents. We'd like to thank the industries who have contributed towards this success, Astrium, Alcatel. There is a great future for this spacecraft. I'd like to congratulate the chairman of Astrium and Alcatel Space, who are in Toulouse, and also say a few particular words to Spotimage, whose chairman is also present in Toulouse. Without Spot 5, Spotimage wouldn't have anything to do. So this is certainly one reason why Spotimage will be very happy to take over an excellent product tonight that will be exploited and operated, that ensures this company a brilliant future. Earth observation is a strategic issue, and there are two aspects that I would like to highlight at this very moment. First of all, the aspect concerning the public service role that Spot 5 will fulfill, as well as all spacecraft that have an Earth observation role. As today, the protection of environment is a need of society, a need of citizens, and a pressing need that must be fulfilled. Thanks to these spacecraft, thanks to ENVISAT, which was launched last February 28th with an Ariane 5 spacecraft of the European Space Agency, Europe is, thanks to these devices, an important player in the world to take over the responsibility Europe has in the international discussions which are concentrated on this important issue, environment protection. But there is also commercial applications involved. The market is developing, and it's all the challenges of Spotimage to integrate these two functions, a player in Spot 5 to operate the spacecraft as a public service, and also develop commercial applications. I would like to thank all our partners in Spot 5, the European partners, Belgian and Swedish partners, and say once again that this spacecraft contributes towards enhancing the number of means Europe has in order to underpin the important undertaking of GMES, Global Monitoring Environment and Security, which links the efforts of the European Space Agency and the European Union. Therefore, I wish Spot 5 long life, much success for Europe and for its citizens. Thank you very much.
Allumage. Décollage. Les paramètres au décollage sont normaux. Les paramètres bord sont normaux.
Well, another replay of those amazing moments from another angle. And as you can see, scenes here in Jupiter of great satisfaction, really, after this great launch for Spotimage. And I think it's quite likely that celebrations in Kourou will be continuing throughout much of the night after this marvellous success. Well, Sonny, it's been a great pleasure working with you.
Yeah, thanks, always. Great working for you this second time as well.
Great, and to all of you watching from around the globe who made it all possible, well done. And from everyone here at Europe Spaceport in lovely French Guiana, it's goodbye and take very good care.
Bye-bye.